All right, this is the percents test retake. We're going to practice and review again. All right, so at the very top, you should pull out your old notes too. When adding a percentage sign, it's all about 100. All right, study this place value right here. Don't forget, after the decimal, it's tenths, hundreds, thousandths. All right, so let's take a look. Round this big number to the nearest tenth of a percent. So we're rounding the 5. We look to the right. Is it 5 or greater? Nope, so we're going to leave it alone. That'd be 36.5%. Write this one as a decimal. Multiply by 100, be 0.03. Write this as a percent. There you go. Goes the other direction. 67.5%. Ta-da! All right. Now, take a look at your notes for this section. We're going to figure out what we need to do for each problem. And once again, we're going to round to the nearest tenth when necessary. Okay, so Luna predicted there will be 24 birdie bots in a box. There were actually 32. Look at this. Isn't this the one that has, you're guessing, you're a little wrong, and there's an actual amount? That's what we're going to use. I'm going to set it up. I'm going to do error over actual. All right, here we go. So there were actually 32. I'm putting that there. You don't put 24 here. You weren't wrong by 24. All right? You find how far off the guess was. So if they guessed 24 and it was actually 32, that's a difference of 8. They were off by 8. So when we're done with that, we go 8 divided by 32. This means division, right? And I got 0.25. There. But if you notice it says find the percent, this is not a percent. Boop, boop. Now it's a percent. All right, let's do the next one. 850 students attended the fall dance last year. This year, only 725 attended. Find the percent of decrease. That's this one. The percent of change right here. So we're going to do the change, how much it changed by, over how much it was originally. So read the problem. Which one came first? Last year or this year? Chronologically, last year would come first, right? So it said 850 students attended. All right, this year only 725. We're not putting 725 up top. How much did it change by? It changed by 125 students. Divide that. You're going to get some big, huge number. 0.1315789. Do I have to keep going? No, I don't. Because it said round to the nearest tenth. This is the tenths place right here. That is not a highlighter. Here's the tenths place. So I'm going to look to the right. Oh, 4 or less, let it rest, or whatever your elementary school teacher said. So it's going to be 0.1. They want a percent. Change that. Or I could have moved it first. So I'm happy if you write 10% or 13%. I would take either one. Yeah. I'm thinking let's not round yet. The best answer would be, let's move the decimal first, right? 13%. I like that one. Okay, let's try the last one. Fred bought extendable ears for $3.50. He sold them for $5. Look, he marked them up. So originally, we know how much they cost, and then he changed them. All right, let's do this. So he originally bought them for $3.50, marked them up $1.50. Let's do some division with your calculators. All right, I got a big gross number, 0.4285, blah, 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 blah. All right, it needs to be a percent. So let's learn from last problem. Move the decimal first. So I have 0.4, let me try that again. I have 42.85 something, 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 something. All right, I want to round to the tenths place. So that would be 42 point, and then that's going to make it 0.9%. There. I think that was some of the hardest stuff right there. Let's go to the next page. All right. Using a proportion versus an equation. A couple things you need to remember. This one's already good to go. That's the proportion way. All right, this one is the equation way. It's my favorite. All right, equals means is, of means multiply. All right, I don't care which way you do it, but let's try, because there's two parts to this test. This one says use a proportion, so I'm going to set it up. Here we go. To solve the problem, 25 is, is goes on top. 40%, that goes right here. Of what? When we have a what, we put a variable. All right, then I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to get 40x equals 2,500. I want to get x by itself, divide by 40. What you do to one side, you do to the other. X equals 2,500 divided by 40. 62.5. And it asks for what number, so I can stop right there. All right, the next way says try an equation. So here we go. 2.34. Then it has the word is. That means equals. What in math? Percent of 48. There. I want to get x by itself. Divide by 48. Divide by 48. X equals 2.34 divided by 48. I got some big old number, 0.04875, and they want what percent. So I'm going to move this over and get 4.875, but we're rounding to the 10th spot. So I'm going to write 4.9%. Ta-da. Oh, this next one wants us to use both methods. All right, so both methods. I'm going to do is over of equals what over 100. What is 26%, that goes right there, of 140? There's one way. The other way is what is 26%, so you change it to a decimal. Of means to multiply 140. Either way is going to work. Solve it. You should get, if you do it correctly, 36.4. All right, Ms. Groller wants to buy a costume, a pumpkin costume, woo, for her dog, and tax. Tax means we're going to add it on, and they want the total amount, so we've got to add it on. But before I do, I've got to figure out what 9.5% of 25.95 is. Okay, so change this to a decimal. All right, 0.095 times 25.95. There you go. That's going to get us our tax. 25.95 times 0.095. All right, some gross number. But money goes out to the 100 spot. So it'd be 2.4, and it's 6.5, so I'm going to round it to 7. There. 6.7. Miss Grandpa just said 6.7. Oh, all right, there it is. 2.47 is our tax. So all I have to do is add that on to 25.95. 25.95 plus the tax of $2.47 would give me the total of 28.42. All right, next one. Wholesale costs of a lunchbox is $18.50. The markup is 125%. That's a lot. And then they want the selling price. Selling price. So I've got to add on that markup. So I'm going to find 125% of $18.50 for the markup. So here we go. Make this a decimal. 1.25. 1.25 times 18.50. We should get $23, and I'm going to round it. It was 125, so it's going to be 13. That's my markup. And then we're going to add that to the price that it was originally cost of $18.50. And I got a total selling price of $41.63. There we go. All right. These are a lot of problems, Ms. Grambois. I feel like
my fault.
I know. I feel like Ms. Grambois wants to do one of these.
Sure.
Okay, we'll have her do maybe the next one. All right, Heather purchases concert tickets online for $142.50. There's a 4% processing fee. Once again, they want the total. Ugh. Okay, if they're charging you a processing fee, that means we're going to add that on. So find 4% of $142.50. Then we're going to add that back on to the cost. So make this a decimal. All right, let's do it. I'm trying to go as fast as I can, Ms. Grambois. All right, I got a $5.70 markup. Add that to $142.50. Dun, da, da, da. My total is $148.20. All right. Okay. I'll do one more before I make Ms. Grambois do one. Okay, a baseball bat was originally $235.90. All right, it's on sale. Sale is cheaper. They want the sale price. So we have to take off the amount. So I'm still going to find 20% of $235.90. All right, do you notice that we're doing that every time we multiply first? And then you figure out if you add it on or take it off. These should be really similar over and over. All right. We're doing a lot of multiplying. Okay. So I got $47.18. That is what we're going to take off or subtract from the original price of the baseball bat. All right, so subtract in your calculator, and what do you get? The new price on sale should be less. Total. In fact, I'm not going to write total. New sale price, right? And I guess this you could even call the discount. Huh? How much they're taking off or the sale? All right. I'm walking over to Grambois. I'm tired. Are you guys tired? All right. This is still recording, I hope. Here we go. All right. This next one. Jiminy sells frogs. He should have sold crickets, Jiminy Cricket. All right. He's going to make a commission. Miss Grambois, tell me about commissions.
Commission is I need to make some moolah. So how much moolah am I going to make? So
I just threw a calculator at her.
We're selling, so that means we need to give some money to that person that sold us some stuff. So Jiminy Cricket is selling frogs for some odd reason.
I got creative.
And makes 8% commission. Okay, so kind of like a tip. Okay, it's kind of like a tip, but we're not going to add it back in. So we're going to take the money that they sold the frogs for, I want to say crickets. How much money will Riley make if she sells a frog for 100? Well, my question is why is Riley selling, not Jiminy?
I don't know. I changed the problem.
I'm guessing this right here should probably say Jiminy.
Yeah.
Like Jiminy Cricket.
Yep.
Okay, so we've got $190. And then, she probably wants me to show the sentence. So we want 8% commission of $190. So remember, of means multiplication. So this is going to be 0.08. Remember, guys, 8. We move the decimal 2 times. Yeah, and fill in the blanks. Okay? Of means multiplication, and so I put 190 in there, and then I put into my handy dandy and see what that comes out to. That comes out to, now the calculator says this. If we were in person, I would say, what is wrong with this? Well, first of all, it's money, so I got to put a dollar sign, and dollar signs go in front of numbers, not after numbers, and I've got to put a 0 because we have 2 decimal spots, not just 1 decimal spot, but 2 decimal spots. Okay. Simple interest. Okay, simple interest says,
are you on the back side?
Yeah.
Oh, you're so good.
Simple interest says we're going to take I equals PRT. I always learned it as PERT without the E. And so principal, or your starting amount, rate expressed as a decimal because rate is the percent, time expressed in years, not months, but years. So it says George deposited. Okay, when you deposit, that's the money you start with. Okay, so that's going to be our P value into an account that earns 2.5%. That's going to be our rate, but we've got to make it into a decimal. Yes, there's a decimal point in it, but that doesn't mean that you just put 2.5. We actually have to make it into a decimal without the percent sign. How much will be in his account in 4 years? So now we just found where the time comes in. It says find the account balance, not just the interest. So we're going to start with the interest. And Ms. Shaw was probably be changing the colors on this, and I have not been doing that. So we have 850. Now our rate, before I do this, 2.5%. Okay, to make it into a decimal, I have to divide that by 100 because 100%, did I just try and put that in my calculator? I did. I am a silly child, and I would get 0.025 because I thought I was going to be showing that to you. And I can't show that to you because it's on a calculator that is not attached to this iPad. And then I need my years. So my years are 4 years. And then I just put those numbers into my handy dandy calculator. I equals, and then I'm going to multiply times 4, and I'm going to get 85. Now, yes, it is $85 for the interest, but this isn't wanting just the interest. It actually says find the account balance. Now, if we look up here to find account balance, we need to take the principal, or the starting amount, and add it to the interest. So I'm going to take the $850. Well, first I'm going to do this. I'm going to say A equals. And then I'm going to take my 850 and I'm going to add on the $85. So my total is going to be, you think I should use a calculator for this? Just so that I don't get it wrong, 935. And if you left it like that, I would be very upset because you did not put a dollar sign on it. It must have a dollar sign. So the next one, oh, we're talking about my puppy Luna. Luna puts, man, she has a lot of money. $3,500 into a savings account. So again, boys and girls, that is our starting amount of money. That's our P value. Into a savings account that earns her an interest rate of 3.5% simple interest. How much interest will Luna earn in 6 months? Now, this is where you have to be careful because, yes, it says 6 months, but we need it to be in years. So, how many months are in a year? 12, right? So that's going to get me a half, or for those of you that like decimals better than fractions, that's 0.5. So here we go. We are going to do interest equals, how much money did we start with? $3,500. And then it wants our simple interest. Remember, move the decimal over 2 times. And then our years on this, remember, is 0.5 or half, whichever way you want it. And then I plug it into my calculadora. Hey, you got some Spanish in there too. 3,500 times 0.035 times 0.5, and we get 61.25. And it's money, so we have a dollar sign. Now let's go up and look at what it asks for. This one says how much interest, so we found our answer. There it is. That's all we had to do. So the next one says, Rocky put into, sorry, I was looking for the color. Put 15, oops, that's why the problem. It's a highlighter. I need it off the highlighter. I need it on the pen. There we go. Okay, this is our principal amount. He put 15,000 into a savings account. For how long? How long was that in there? 1.5 years. Now, he earned, boys and girls, earning, getting money, that's your interest. Guys, this is our interest. Oops, I forgot to write rate or time next to this. Oh, this time, if we look at it, it says, what is the interest of this? Do you see that? The interest rate, I meant to say. We're looking for the interest rate, so we're actually looking for the R value this time around. So our interest was I did it again with a silly highlighter. 2,475 equals, then we're going to do PERT, so we've got P, 15,000, and then it wants the rate, what color is the rate? Orange, times R, and then it wants times our time, which is 1.5. Okay, so we have multiplication. Remember, you can multiply in any order. So we're going to go ahead and multiply the 15,000 times the 1.5. So a year and a half. And we're going to use this color. So 22500, and then we have the R value. But we want R by itself. We want it to have a coefficient of 1. So what are we going to do? We're going to divide both sides by the number that is sitting in front of the R. So we want to get rid of the number sitting in front of R. So 22500. 22500. So when I do that, this cancels with this, and I get the rate equals. Now in my calculator, 2,475 divided by 25. Nope, try that again. 22500. Oops, I don't like your calculator. I like my calculator.
I got that one too.
I know. 22500. And this gets me 0.11. Now it's asking this as a percent. So if I'm going to make this into a percent, I'm going to move my decimal over 2 times, and that gives me an 11% interest rate.
Woo! Thanks, Miss Grandbois.
Don't I have to do the ones at the bottom?
I will. You're the best.
Okay, there you are.
Wasn't that nice? Oh, I know. She's awesome.
Do you want your calculadora?
Yeah. By the way, number 17 is extra credit on your math test. If you're asking how to get a better grade, make sure you know how to do that one. All right, last ones. I love these problems so much. That's division. Let's do it. All right, 5/12 divided by 10/18. You guys know we keep, change, do whatever. Change it to multiplication. Find the reciprocal. There it is. All right, you can multiply straight across and then simplify. You're going to get the same answer. But, hey, did you guys notice I rewrote the problem wrong? There we go. That was a 5. Okay, that's better. But I'm going to cross cancel because that's so much nicer. 5 goes into 5 once and it goes into 10 twice. Look, wasn't that easy? 6 goes into 12 and 18. So 6 goes into 12 twice. 6 goes into 18 3 times. Whether you didn't cross cancel or you do and then you have to simplify to, it's 3/4 either way. All right, number 19. What does 6 take away 8, you guys? You can do the scoreboard if you still need to. You should have 2 negatives. All right. 3 times 4. Wouldn't we do this part first because that's multiplication and get 12? Then subtract 7. And, oh, is this our last one? Yes, it is. 1/6 take away 3/4. You've got to have a common denominator. So we're going to rewrite those as, I think they both go into 12. So what did you do to 6 to get 12? We multiplied by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. What'd you multiply 4 by? Multiplied by 3. So we got to do that to the top, to the numerator. 2 take away 9 is a -7 over 12. Now, we did these really fast. Hopefully they're correct, but no promises. All right. Study hard. You got this.